Hey fellas, plan for this video is we're going to be working on the Simplicity Sunstar, right? Getting the tractor ready for some winter duty. About midway through winter, so I still have some more time left, and I want to get that snow thrower attachment on it. We worked on the blade attachment a while back. That's in backup mode right now, but we've never hooked up the snow thrower. And to do that, we need to kind of go through the machine a little bit first. Give it some attention, give it some lube, check it out. We got to take the cutting deck off. We got an inspection to do. Some of this stuff I actually did on a live stream, so I'll pop some of that footage in here as well. We'll do 2 parts. And the first part, we're just kind of go through everything, get the deck off, kind of get things laid out. We got issues with the pulley, the drive pulley system that runs the deck. All right, it runs the deck and it runs any attachment in the front. So we got a PTO with 2 belts. I put new belts on it. She threw one of the belts. The other one's riding crooked. Something's going on up there. So we got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. Everything on a budget. Right, this time of year I don't have any money, so we're going to just have to kind of do an inspection, do what we can, get through it. Part 1 we'll do that. Part 2 I haven't finished yet. Hopefully everything goes smooth and we can get this thing all set up before we get a lot of snow, if we get any. So far Mother Nature's been pretty kind this year, and I haven't had to deal with the snow. Also, this video is in part brought to us by SmartSaker. So we got a kind of cool, right, should focus in. SmartSaker grease gun fitting, right? Locking grease gun fitting, pretty cool. I used it before, and I think the first time I kind of gave a quickie on it was a snapper machine that I was playing around with. So we're going to use it today, and I want to say thank you to SmartSaker. Everything helps, right? Even in a small way. I've always wanted one. Now I need a right angle. No, I have the right angle. I need a swivel, and I need another gun as well. I need a small one or some other gun because it's getting old. But yeah, thanks to them. Shout out to them. Everything helps, right? In today's world, with things getting the way they are, anything that can kind of help us out a little bit, kind of cool tools. And this is not expensive. And you might want to go to www.smartsaker.com. They got a lot of stuff, fellas. They got a lot of really cool stuff there. So shout out to them. Let's get started on this video. See you guys in a minute. Well, I'm glad I moved everything around because the few things that I put outside now are getting wet. It's raining. But our task for today is we're going to pull off this whole front section here. So I'm just going to start off by removing my forks. And I've got the deck dropped down. So we're going to climb underneath there, and I'll show you a little bit about it. There's not much to do, honestly. It's not all that hard to drop a deck on this. So some of the first things we'll be doing is we'll be unpinning this, right? That's the lifting rod that I made. And then we'll unpin this here, and then this whole thing gets kind of pulled up and out, right? So I'm going to work on that. Now, most people they don't have this on with the deck. They don't realize that they can actually run both and leave it. And so that's a little tip that, yes, you can actually have it. It's strong enough to lift the deck and to move this thing. It's not as strong, like if I wanted to, with the deck off, I have more lifting power here. And I did notice that being a bit of an issue. But yeah, for most jobs and things, you can just leave it like this. And when I was fooling around with the cutting, the blade, the snow blade, I actually tried plowing with it too, grading, and there's a video on that. And it did very well. All I did was I just replaced one of the springs with a chain to stiffen the thing up a little bit. Otherwise, it will dive. The blade will move and dive too much. All right, let me do that, and we'll be back. There's a slip collar on that shaft, so I'll have to reach underneath there and pull that slip ring back. But I used bolts here. You could use pins, but this is kind of what came with it. So these 2 bolts come out there. So I'll take those 2 bolts out. Then you see the chain bolts there? All right, we got to get those bolts out. And those bolts, and then the thing will drop down a little further, and then we'll undo the shaft. And that's it. Okay, so let me work on that. There's no way to keep the camera in here, fellas, while I'm working. So I just wanted to show you. That's pretty much how easy it is. Yeah. So I just removed that pin and these 2 plates that I made, which I want to kind of refit at some point. And this guy, he's already coming out. So it's already lined up. Let me get that out. And the clip Use a screwdriver too. Anything you need to get it out. See, and then these brackets. That was just to kind of, it didn't really, this one wasn't really working well. Try to keep this, take a little stress off of that front pin. Okay. So in the position I have it in is perfect because you can just reach in here or from underneath, however you got to do it. There, it'll come. Use a screwdriver too. And then all we have to do now is lift it forward, see? And she'll come right out. See what she's doing? That's it, she's almost out. So I'll just lift it out the rest of the way. Try to give it a nudge. Just like that, okay? But this part's done. I'm gonna put this to the side, right? Very easy. This is the pipe I welded on. I made that nice sort of forklift. It doesn't get in the way of anything. And it can actually be unbolted if you really wanted to. But it doesn't require any other, modifications. And, just keep this thing cleaned and lubricated, which we'll do when we go to put it back on again. Just like to throw a jack underneath there just to get the bolts out, right? And then we'll get to the rear bolts on the chain. And we still have to undo the lift rod connection, right? Which is connected to the, you'll see what I mean, all right? I'll show you. So the chains in the back are really what go on the jack shaft, right? That shoves, that lifts the deck, but also shoves the lifting rod for the front implements forward. So, and the rollers that it's sitting on in the back, which is a striping kit, I use those rollers to help. I've got them adjusted to help me kind of know about how low I want to go with the cutting deck when I'm cutting. So it should just slide out right now. And it's on the rollers in the back, so it's gonna be tight. Pulling the shaft out is easy because I've lubricated it, and we'll get a closer look. I want to make sure that's all clean and lubricated before I put it back. It'll be a while though because this deck is shot. We have quite a bit of, to try to save it for now, we'll do some welding on it and we'll splice it in. You'll get a closer look in a minute. All right, let me get this out of the way. Okay, so now we have our tractor back. One of the things I don't like, let me turn a little light on here, and I didn't like it in the beginning. I don't like the way these hoses are, and I feel like we really need to put something in there. We might want to take them out, and it's just, yeah, I feel like they're gonna leak, and I'm just not happy with that at all. And these are hard hoses to replace. Let's just take a look at this guy. So this collar comes back and pulls back, and see? And it gets dirty, so that needs to be cleaned and relubricated. When I got it, it wouldn't move, and I think there's an episode where I work on the deck and install it just to get it running again. I go through that. We also need to get some lubricant in here. I never did that, so we need to change that lubricant. And you see the holes in the deck, but we can cut out a section at a time and then weld, and then another section and then weld, and working from good to bad. I've seen a few other decks. I know Zippo's got tons of them. Hey Zippo, he's just got so much good stuff. But up here where I am, these were not popular machines. They were popular up north, way up north in New York. But I'll fix it as best I can for now before I lose it. That pulley is almost gone. It's just missing. I think it's even missing pieces. We need to get the proper, somewhere I have the proper belt size for it. I shoved this one on. Right, this is all out of alignment. It busted one of the belts. We got to figure out what's going on with that. I know it's dirty, fellas. Oh, Arch, what are you doing? I know it's dirty. I know. I'm not cleaning it today. I got to clean these other things. I got to get to work. No fooling around. This thing did get dirty. And we'll do an oil change, and I want to take a look at the bearings, and we'll put the caps on, and we'll see. So yeah, this is all out of alignment. I don't know where the other belt is. I might have another belt. I doubt it. I'll order 2 or something, and we'll figure out why it's out of alignment. But it is a little bit out of alignment. Not sure why. I don't know why. When I put the belt on, I didn't think there was anything wrong. I just reached in there, and it's a bit of a pain in the neck with the hood on, but it's easy to take the hood off. All right, so I took off the original belt, which I'll show you here, just, prying on it. I don't know if there is a good way to do this, but I was using the screwdriver and just kind of poking at it. And I don't see anything wrong. Here's a different belt. Just going through my belt inventory, just looking to see. So we know what the original belt length is. It's about 35 inches. So I had 2, and this one even got beat up, probably from chewing on the other belt. We could polish all these surfaces. Yes, we will. So let's just see. So I got it looped around like that. I'm just going to pull it back by hand. And this is a longer belt. And yeah, that's too long, right? See, you're going to get flexation. All right, that's a better belt. And this is basically the stock belt. I think the biggest problem I'm seeing, and one of the guys pointed this out to me in one of my early videos, the motor mounts are not right? They're dead. And look, so there's a lot of movement here. Way more than should be. So we got something going on here with the motor mount. That's causing us some problems. Let me continue to figure out what belt we want. I'm just grabbing it. See, with everything off, you can grab it and then spin it around. See, now it's on pretty tight, but that's about the size I'm looking for. Now, anything else here? Do I see any other movement here? I don't think so. Maybe we can just do something. I'm going to have to try and order some motor mounts, actual motor mounts for this thing. And I know Zippo got them. Zippo, if you're watching, I need motor mount bolts. Correct factory ones. I'll do what I have to do for now, but we're definitely going to need some real motor mount bolts and fix this properly. All right, so let me go see what this is, and since I can read it, and I think this is a nice belt, and it seems to be real close in size. When I ordered these, I thought I wrote them down, but I can't find it. I think we're a little bit tight. It's just a little bit shorter of a belt, and it's not as deep, but it fits nice, and I'll show you that in a little bit too. It fits real nice. All right, so this is a 3/8 belt, and that's a 1/2 inch belt, and you could see. I can see it, fellas. I can see it over here. It's sitting too low here. We're going to have to shim that. And back there, you can't see it, but I can. All right, it's still sitting on the rubber bushings. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise this up a little bit on both sides of the engine block. She's leaning forward. The engine's leaning crooked, and it's leaning forward, and that's going to force the belts to walk, especially with a larger belt. See, one of the problems you have with a larger belt, right, with a motor leaning like that, she's going to try to walk, whereas this is deeper in the pulley. So even with it being a little bit misaligned, she's got a lot further to climb up the shoulders of the pulley before she walks off. So at the very least, right, if we wind up with a serious problem, see here, over here, look, that bolt's actually hitting the starter motor. We got to look into that. All right, let me see what I'm going to come up with. Well, here's a really beefy belt that I just found, and it's in beautiful shape. See how it fits nice in the pulleys? So let me take it back off, and then I think I have it matched up to something. If not, I have 2 other belts. They're a little thinner, right? So the one I was looking at, this guy, and it also fits nice in here. Right, this actually comes up as a SnowBlower auger belt. And this one, which is like pretty much like a match to it, and it's also in pretty decent shape. We want to put them on just to make sure, but they fit a little different inside the pulley, but that's good too. So that'll give me something to work with. All right, next step is let me write these belts up so I know what I have. I want to write them up properly and measure them. And I've weaned everything down to what I have to something that I can work with. And this is what was on there, but she's going to let go. Okay, you can see it, right? See if I... She's going to let go. All right. Next step. All right, so in the meantime, right, these are used for like aligning shims for like front ends, you know, steering and fenders. So I just got to drive that one in, and then I loosen up the bolts, and then we'll retighten it. Now this bolt was actually pushing on the starter, and that could have broke the starter, all that vibration and everything. So I got to put another one of these shims underneath, right, to take up some of that room. So I'm going to need to get on this ASAP and get this all squared away, but that's going to be another day, and these are kind of pricey. So, all right, let me keep going. All right, I managed to get the shims in. So now let's see. I put my Saker locking grease gun coupler on, because one of these, I don't remember which one, but I think it was this one, where I have just a huge problem. I could not get it to go. I really need one of those tools where you load it with grease and you hit it with a hammer. And let's see, can we get... Yeah, I got that on there. Now let's see if we can push some... I think it's starting to go. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's getting something. It could be... I don't know why that would be. She's locking up. Yeah, she's locking up. Maybe we need to take that out. You want to see if we can get it out? Uh-oh, now I can't get it out. Yeah. All right, so what we need to do, to get it out, it's got pressure buildup in it. So I'll have to spin it out, and it's going to pop a little. Okay? No big deal. And then we should be able to get the tool off. Right? Let me see if I can get in there and maybe take the Zerk fitting off. All right, I took off the idler tensioner because the grease fitting blew out of that. Broke out, so we'll have to fix that. And this has no flats on it. So now we can get a vice grip or something in there and see if we can turn that out and see what's going on. I tried pumping an oil into it, you know, a point. Driving it in there, but no go. Let's find out what's going on. All right, now I managed to get that grease fitting out, but you can see it's just junk in here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just junk. It's probably a combination of dry grease and dirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow that, pick at it, hit it with liquid wrench, put oil in there, whatever I can do to get some lubricant back into that. And we'll see. We'll start with that. And I'll get you in tight in a minute. But I need to... The hole is blowed out. And I'll show you in a minute, but it's blowed out. So I can't get another grease fitting in. But I managed to blow in oil and lubricant and bunch of other stuff. So if I can just get this hole tightened up a little bit, it's going to take me a little while, but I'm just going to work this punch as close as I can. Let me get my gloves on. I'm going to really slam it though to distort it. All right, I've tapped it. Try to close that hole up. We don't need much. So I scraped it all out. I blew some, we got oil in there, some penetrant lube, high pressure air, blew it all around, and now we have room, right, for actual grease to go in. So let's get something, let's get that hole filled up with a Zerk fitting of some kind. All right, success. I got it to splooge, right, came out in the back. That's all I'm going to do for now, because I'm going to rinse this at some point in the future. We'll come back in and we'll do it again, because it's going to need it. So it's got some lubricant in there, oil, and it's got some grease in it. And I'm not sure what it does, or how it works in. I think some of these bearings are sealed, but like I said, we'll do it again. It definitely splooged to the sides. And yeah, let me move to the next piece. Now, this one is the one where it actually busted out. So let me clean this up. It's probably the same thing. It's probably caked in that. So that's next. All right, I got it all cleaned up. It's a nice bushing. And then there inside there, you probably can't see it, but there's a channel in there, a pathway. Now, the grease fittings that they use, probably can't see it, but there's no ball in it, right? It's wide open to the weather, so of course, over time, you're going to get a lot of infiltration. So I'm going to grease this up. I cleaned this up on the wire wheel, and I just rinsed everything off and wiped it out. And then I'm going to just put a little grease on it, and then I'm going to install it, and then we'll get the grease gun out and finish it. All right, I cleaned this up on the wire wheel. It was pretty bad, but there's a burr that's running along here. So I'm going to clean that up too, polish it up a little bit more, clean in here with the wire wheel as well, just a cup wire wheel, and then wash it, and then we'll see about getting grease in there once we get it clean. I think I could probably get up, maybe, get up the bearing. I don't know. Maybe we can just get some lube in it. So that's the way it's made. I don't know how you would get the bearing out. I think the way it's made is really no way to do it. Let me see. So I got it cleaned up pretty good. What I'm doing is I'm taking some chain lube, chain cable lube, and what you do is you press the seal down a little bit and then try to spray in there and spin it, and then I'm going to put some chain wax, which is more like a grease, or maybe even I'll try and get some white grease in there. Just try to fill it a little bit at a time, right? Just push down with a pick. This is a service part, so there's no way to rebuild it. You just got to get another one. So I ran the wire wheel over these guys, but I think we're going to go a little bit more because I can feel it. So I'm going to try the Scotch-Brite on this tool, and then if not, we'll take some of this sort of sandpaper here, 120 grit, and I'll run it over everything too, a little bit at a time. So let's see what happens. All right, combination of the paper and what have you, I think that looks good. And it's not perfect. It's not going to be, but it's a maintenance clean. And there was a lot of, like, really, especially on the back side that you can't see. I still feel it. There's the bumpy, but that's enough for now. I didn't use the main camera because of the dust. Also notice that, right, that bolt is not hitting the starter motor. It's actually pushing up on the starter motor. All right, I think it's a good maintenance clean. Let's get to the next step. So I got it back together. Let's use my SmartSaker. See, can we fit this on there? I think we can. Let's see. So I got it cleaned up and tweaked. Is it on? No, not yet. Worst case, some areas you can't get it because it's big, you know. But we don't really need it, but just to show you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's important. It's coming out the side a little bit, though. Might have to tighten it a little bit more. But we're getting some in there. Yeah, there's not a lot of room for grease in these types of shafts. I want to jack this thing up, and we're going to pull these tires off. We need to take a look in there. You'll see it in a minute, but since I got it, it has never had caps on the end of these spindles. Never. So they've been exposed to the environment forever. And I think this is a good time to at least get in there. I picked up some caps and the lock washers for them. Let me just get in there and take a peek. And I don't know how far I'll take this video, but let me just look in there and see what's going on. We got to clean it out. And I'm not going to, like, really do too much else other than put some grease in there, make sure there's no filth in there, put it back together, put the caps on, and then I'm done, right? Clean the plugs, and I'm basically done. I'm going to look away. And we want to clean these plugs. Now, this one's got oil on it. So she's a drinker. She's been drinking oil, and it is burning a little sooty. One of these plugs, I don't have my glasses on. One of these plugs, I put a hotter plug on it. It's probably this one. Hopefully you can see that. Let me see if I can see it in the monitor. So I want to ascertain which plug is which. If I wrote it down, I probably lost the notes. I got to make some new notes. I think if this is the hotter plug, which it probably is, it's burning much cleaner than I'm going to want to go to this plug. And for now, whatever oil she's drinking, if it's burning better than that, like this side is, and if it's because I put the hotter plug in, that's what we're going to stay with for now. At some point, I want to pull off the heads, take a peek in there. I don't know how to adjust the valves on this. I don't even know where the valve covers are. I don't know this motor. So I don't know if it's something that we can get at and we can pop a valve out and grind it. My suspicion would be is that if you pull the valves out and if you check them, what you'll probably find is that there's reversion, so the valve is sinking a little bit deeper in the block, and it may be out of clearance, and that might be affecting the way it runs. And then if we re-gap that, by grinding the end of the valve and polishing everything up, maybe, a quick hone, a little bit of polish on the valves, get everything clean, put it back together with some fresh gaskets and torque it down. Maybe we can, kind of get a little bit more life out of this thing. I love it. So this is the Magnum, the Kohler Magnum 20 horsepower. I haven't tuned it. We're going to do the oil. I don't even think I touched the carburetor on this thing. All I did was mess with the plug and change the oil and the filter. And that's it. I haven't put gas in it. Pretty much, other than fooling around with lubrication and changing the transmission oil, which didn't even really need it. To solve this problem, so however this gets lubed, there's like a collar in here. I don't know what the lube is doing, but it wasn't lubed. It hadn't been lubed. It's now lubricated to whatever degree. There's probably permanently lubed bearings, grease bearings in either end. So whatever, I've managed to lube the whole thing at least once, this entire machine at least once. And by fixing this down here, I can say that. Or I couldn't say that before last week, the end of last week. Right away I could see something. Ooh. Can you guys see that? Ooh. There's a lot of slop in here, fellas. Let's get this thing apart. Give it a tug. What kind of bearing is this? I'm waiting for a washer or something to come off, but no. Well, that was easy, but it looks like a bushing. Ugh. Yeah, the shaft looks good. I'll get you in on that in a minute. But it definitely looks like I'm going to need to order some bearings. I don't think there's any hope. I'm surprised it's as nice as it is. So it's actually not that bad. Worcester, Mass. Wow, that's actually not that far from here. I don't know what this is, but it's a bushing type bearing. It would have to be driven out. And it's sloppy. One's worse than the other. So it's not like I don't think it's like a car bearing. And in the meantime, let me see if I get the cap on. I bought caps for it. And then what I'll do is I'll just make sure it's relatively clean. And it's not going to come apart or anything. It's not that bad. But I need to know what it is. So when you can't see something, right? It just says Worcester, Mass. Lutco, Lutco. So Lutco, right? And I have a parts breakdown on this machine, and I'll have to see what it calls out. But these are like a sleeve. Now there may be bearings in here in this part of the cage, but it looks more like a bushing. I don't see any rollers, but there's a lot of grease in there. There's not a lot of dirt in it, surprisingly enough. There really isn't. All right, so now I know. What I'm going to do is just wipe everything off, and you could see how much play there was in that. Put a little grease on this, and just wipe some grease on it, put it back, and then we'll pump grease in it after I get the cap on. This shaft looks like it's okay. I'm not feeling it. I feel a very small step, but that could just be trash. See? There's a very small step on this side. There is a little bit of wear on the shaft itself. Yeah, I can feel it. I can actually feel it. So on this spindle, there's a little bit of wear. Then there's a little bit of wear up in here. And it looks like it's coming from, yeah, see, it's this bushing here. So whatever's going on in this bushing, so it's like, you know, like a kingpin style. And then on this rod end, which you should be able to see all of that. So she's going to need some work. And is that loose? No. There's movement here. All right, so the movement, let's see if you can see that up here. Let me move the camera a little bit. So now I know what's going on there. Let me move the camera a little. So I think the bolt hole for this bolt, okay, how much movement is there? And the other thing I don't like is the hose. These hoses need some, I think, some kind of additional like chafing strip or some protection on some level. I just don't like the way they are. They're leaning up against this bracket. So my guess would be is the bracket is warm. So if we take this apart, I could probably weld a bushing in or something in here and stop that plate. Look how much there is. So she's getting old, right? She needs work. This was not well maintained. Now, what's really cool about these is, let me bring you back in over here. This is an articulating arm here, this whole spindle assembly. See, that is supposed to do that. So this is independent, right? The other side is down. I'm holding it. This is supposed to move. And it's not until it gets to a certain point where it lifts up on the other side. It's not an I-beam, like most, you know, tractors or, you know, lawn tractors or whatever. This was a feature that they came up with. This is all nice, heavy-duty stuff here. It's all cast. The feature they came up with to improve the ride and to level the cutting surface and keep it more level. And it does. It actually drives quite well. And I'm not seeing too much slop in this pocket where this whole steering knuckle sits. It's a little bit, but you know, will we need to take that apart? Probably, yeah, at some point in the future. Looks like there's a pin here. I'll change the angle in a minute. All right, so this bushing, if it's replaceable, whatever goes in here, I would hope that there's a brass sleeve or something that's in this. These are still available, those ends, we could just get 2 of those. This spindle, I don't know. If I had a lathe, I would, you know, or even a turret mill press, or if I had a lathe, what I would do is I would just simply make a bushing and slip a bushing over this. I'm wondering how much of that wear that I feel, you know, it's mostly in the bearing. But it's not terrible. I think if we just saw it off with some new bearings to, you know, just see if the new bearings are tighter, because it could have worn the bearing surface in here as well. So if there's a little bit of wear here and there's a little bit of wear there, see where there wouldn't be wear is in the middle, and there's still play in that bearing. Because there would be no wear there, and there's still a lot of play in that bearing. So, all right, we need bearings. All right, let's slap this back on. Put a little grease on the back side of that. All right, now I know. Well, at least I know the wheel's not going to fall off, and I shouldn't be, you know, incurring any more damage as a result of it. As long as I have some decent grease in there. So Briggs is making this stuff, which is nice. Yeah, and then that snaps on. Now, does it go that way or this way? I think it goes that way. Yeah. All right, so let's put that retainer ring back on. C-clip. All right, so you get a washer. And let's just see if it goes here, or do we want it here, do we want it in the back? Yeah, that feels nice. Oh yeah, that feels better. Let's get out one of the new clips. All right, we'll put that one back on for now. Now let's feel it. Oh yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's definitely better. It's not great, but it's definitely better. I should order more of these caps. I don't know how it goes on. I know it's basically just a clip. Yeah. But I don't want to break it. It feels like it's on. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to do the other side in a minute, but that's nice. That's better. Let me grease it. So now I'm going to use my new SmartSaker locking grease fitting thing. Alright, I'm just going to put some grease in it. That should be good, since we're going to be taking it apart again. There we go. It's coming out. All right. Yeah, it came out. So I'm going to finish up the rest of the stuff off camera in a little bit. But yeah, it's in pretty good shape for the. I mean, if it was taken care of better, it wouldn't have any of those issues. But I think we can fix all it. I'll start off with some new bearings. I'll track down. Now I got to track down. Well, the belts I know, so I already have. I have two decent belts. I'm going to put the other belt on a little bit after I'm done greasing and everything in the front and going through the caps. Get it all greased up. So the belts. There's one extra belt that I have. It's a little bit different, but it's a backup just for emergency. So I got the belts covered. I got the issue with the grease fittings not working, and so that's done. I got the caps. I got the hardware I need. I just need to get new bearings for the front tires, for the front spindles. I don't know what to do about the little bit of wear. I'll check the other spindle in a little bit. I'd like to get some fresh tires, even just some decent, maybe something a little bit more aggressive, just the bigger size, something, shiny, whatever. Get the bearings, peel all that off, clean it all up, and if I can find something, let me turn this off here. Let me turn you off. If I can find something to bush the sleeve, the knuckle sleeve, right, like kingpin sleeve, then I'll order that. It might just be a sleeve that goes in there and you drive it out. That's what I would think. It's like a bronze or whatever sleeve that you slip in there. And there's ways you could make that. Like I said, if I had a lathe, I'm actually looking into doing that. Who knows? Maybe in the future I'll be able to afford it. But even just like a small Smitty or whatever, it's perfect for making bushings and sleeves and things that to repair stuff like this. I really need something like that. But let me see if I can track down that, and then at least then I can deal with the slave cylinder on it, and that could just be a standard bushing I could make and weld in there and spot in and drill out and just make it tight again. It may even have a lot of wear on that main bolt, so that bolt might be no good too. So I'm going to want to track down a bolt of that size if I don't have it. Tighten all that up. And then it won't be so sloppy up front, and then that part will be maintenance, which is, where I need to get to in the near future. Once I'm done today, I'll roll it around out front and drive it into the garage, and then if it's not today, it'll be tomorrow, and I'll bring you guys either. Oh, I don't think I'm going to do a live on that, but I'm going to do a video on hooking up that snow thrower. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And so it's got to be hooked up, and then I got to deal with the electrical part of it because the chute is electric. So you can aim the snow, and by the end of the weekend I have to be done with that because I got to get back to doing other stuff. All right, fellas, I'm really looking forward to part 2. I haven't finished everything yet. I'm back at work doing other stuff. Going to have to put it on the shelf for a little while, but I got it connected the other day, and I can see some things I need to take care of. But I think we should be able to iron this stuff out. Hopefully everything works. We don't know yet. Okay, I don't know yet. So stay tuned for part 2, and hopefully we can get this thing going. And well, maybe we'll get to test it out. That'll be another episode. In a way, I feel like I hope it doesn't snow. What would be really disappointing is in the beginning of the season, we had a little bit of snow, a couple of inches, like an inch or something. It just dusted and disappeared. Got sunny out. That would suck. Okay, because then we really can't do anything with it. But like usually, like we get snow, so the past number of years we've had some of these big snow dumps, and with the drifts and everything, we get a couple of feet. The curb cut is a disaster. I can't really shovel. I'm in no shape for that. In a way, we want to kind of find out. So let's cross our fingers. Hopefully I get it done before it does snow. Currently, right now, there's nothing in the forecast. I'm going to get back to work, and then I'm going to try to score some time at the end of the day, like an hour, and noodle around with it, right? So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys then, all right? Later on.